to bulk up. So this is a phrase used a lot for people who are trying to make their muscles bigger. So this guy is very fit. He has very large muscles. But when he was younger, he probably didn't. But he decided to lift weights in order to bulk up. So the best description I can give for this is to gain weight, but not as fat, to gain weight as muscle. Okay? So you want, when you decide to bulk up, you're trying to make your muscles bigger. You're lifting weights in order to increase the size of the muscles in your body. So often people who are maybe not very strong and they want to have a physique like this, like they want to look like this, they will go to the gym. They will lift weights to bulk up, to become stronger and bigger. To knock out. So if you watch boxing, sometimes the boxers will hit each other and they'll remain standing, but sometimes one boxer will hit the other boxer with so much force that they fall down on the mat and they are unconscious. Oh, I was going to do this. So that there, now you can imagine what it's like to be in a boxing match, although there would be a boxing glove here, right? So this isn't as common as it used to be. I think boxing is a lot more points oriented, like you try to get points for certain hits. But if you hit someone hard enough, you might knock out that person. You might render them unconscious. That would be another way to say it. So you can see here, these guys look pretty intense. The one guy might knock out the other guy with a hit like this. To give up, similar to dropping out, when you give up, it means you quit. So this is common in sports because not everyone has what it takes to play a certain sport. Some people give up. So let's say I was a good hockey player. I might play for 3 or 4 years, but eventually I might give up. Eventually I might quit because everyone else is better than me. As you play a competitive sport, sometimes you're just not strong enough or fast enough or good enough. And so you might decide you're just going to give up. You're going to quit. So when you give up, it means that you quit and you no longer play that sport. You can give up in a game too. Sorry, I should explain this a bit better. Like if you're losing 10-1, your team might give up a little bit, like they're not playing as hard as they should to pay off. So if you work hard, it'll eventually pay off. So if you practice a certain sport, if you go to the gym every day, if you go to the track and you work hard for years, you might eventually see that pay off. When something pays off, it means that you achieve a goal that you had. So you do a certain thing and hope that it will pay off. If you watch a lot of English lessons on YouTube, and if you study English for a few hours every day, eventually that will pay off. Eventually you will be fluent and you'll be able to talk to other people. So it's basically when you achieve a goal. That's what I would say. To try out for. So if there's a team that needs 10 players and 20 people want to be on that team, you need to try out for that team. You need to go to a few practices and show your skills. You need to hopefully get a spot on that team. So when you try out for something, it's especially for a team, it means you and a lot of other people who play that sport are there to try out for, to hopefully find a spot on the team. By the way, when you try out for a team, you go to a tryout. We also use it as a noun. But you can see these girls, they've decided to try out for a basketball team. So they're hoping that they make the team. Sometimes when you're an athlete, you need to work on something. Okay, so to me, it looks like this guy has decided to work on his hitting. He's a baseball player. He has a bat in his hands. He's decided to work on his hitting. So this person on the floor is throwing one ball at a time so the other person can work on his hitting. When you work on something, it means you're practicing it. You work on your English every week. You're working on your English right now. You might work on your English later today by studying a bit more or doing some reading. So when you work on something, it means you practice it. It means you do it in order to get better at it, to be into. So this can work for fans as well as athletes. I'm into watching the Blue Jays right now. They are a professional baseball team in Toronto. This isn't me, by the way, but I did go to a Blue Jays game. I actually went twice this year. I went on a class trip, and then Jen and I went a couple of weeks ago. So Jen and I are into watching the Blue Jays. We're into baseball. A player can also be into it. Oh, does your son play sports? Oh yeah, he's really into football. Does your son, is your son going to the Olympics? Yeah, from a young age, he was into archery, and now Bob's at the Olympics in doing archery. That is an Olympic sport, right? Archery? I'm pretty sure it is. So when you're into something, it means you really like it and you do it a lot. You are all into learning English, by the way, to stick with. So it's hard to be the person who never gives up. When you stick with something, it means you do it every day or every other day for a long time. Okay? If you want to speak English, you need to stick with it. You need to study a lot. You can't give up. You can't drop out. You can't quit. You have to stick with it. I'm trying to think of another example. If I want to be a better teacher, when I first started teaching, I wasn't sure I was going to be a good teacher, but I decided to stick with it. I decided to stick with teaching and to work on my teaching skills to become a better teacher.